Welcome back. Today we are joined by Mark Matthews with Edward Jones. Mark, thanks for joining us today.
Glad to, Mary Grace. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. Today we're talking about what to know about HSAs and FSAs. Those are health savings account and flexible spending account. What to know, Mark? We might as well start off with, what are they?
So a health savings account is an account that anyone can have. They can fund with pre-tax money and then use those dollars and those earnings to pay for certain healthcare expenses, even in insurance premiums or deductibles and things like that that you wind up paying, at some point in time for medical care. So the health savings account is a good way to save money towards those expenses and not necessarily use them this year. You can use that money next year, the year after that. It's not use it or lose it type of thing.
Okay, so these are accounts that you can use, it sounds like, basically to pay for healthcare expenses, right?
Correct.
Okay, so that's kind of on the surface. What else do we need to know for people to help determine if this could be useful in their lives?
Yeah, so one thing to have a health savings account, you have to have what's called a high deductible healthcare plan, which does have a higher deductible. And the theory is you have your health savings account money to pay for that deductible or those expenses that go towards your deductible. And if you don't have a bunch in a given year, you can save what you've contributed and which will add to next year into the future. So you can build money up in there in that type of thing. Now the flexible spending account is driven by, usually going to have that through your employer, and that's something where you have to use it each year or you will lose it, or you'll lose most of it. This year you can push forward about $610 in the next year if you haven't used it up. But so you want to use those dollars often, or when you can. But again, you're getting the benefit of putting in pre-tax money, and you don't get taxed on whatever it might earn if you're using those dollars for healthcare expenses. And so it's a helpful tool. That money you're going to probably spend anyway, but at least spend pre-tax dollars as opposed to after-tax dollars is better off for the consumer.
Okay, and so there are some of those differences, like the FSA kind of through your employer, the health savings account. It doesn't have it doesn't expire. Those dollars don't expire, so you can kind of continue to use them. So a few different differences depending on your situation. Are there any limits on contributions or anything like that?
Great question. So on a health savings account, an individual this year could contribute $3,850, I believe. If you're over 55. You can do $4,850. If you're a family, you can do $7,750. The contribution limit for an FSA is $3,050 in 2023. And there is such a thing as what's called a limited purpose FSA that you would get through your employer with a high deductible plan. And you can have both in that case, but you have to have that through your employer. It can only be used for dental and vision. So it is limited in how it's used, but that's a nuance that people that have that through their employer might be able to have. Any way you cut it, being able to use pre-tax money for expenses that you're going to have anyway is usually a good thing.
Awesome, definitely. And of course, meeting those healthcare expenses is a part of your overall financial strategy. Mark, how can people reach out to you to kind of go over it and see if one of these may fit into their financial strategy?
Sure. So I always direct folks to edwardjones.com, and from there you can search by city or zip code and find an advisor that's in your area, that type of thing, or someone you may recognize their name. And click on that and go from there.
Awesome. Sounds good. Well, Mark Matthews with Edward Jones. Mark, thanks for coming on, giving us this information.
Thank you, Mary Grace.
And we'll be right back after the break. Stay with us.